Hello everyone and welcome back to the new video. In this video, we are going to talk about one of the interview questions on Kubernetes. Which I had faced, okay, and couldn't answer it appropriately. So just wanted to share with you guys how should we answer in the most appropriate and best possible way. So without wasting much of our time, let's get started. The question that we are going to discuss in this video is regarding what actually happens when you run the command kubectl apply -f deployment.yaml. So, what actually happens when this question is asked in an interview is that most of the people give superficial answers. So, answers like the kubectl sends request to the API server. API server then accordingly sends or creates an object inside of the etcd, and then the scheduler schedules the pod. But this is the one that is not expected, because when you are targeting senior roles, they expect more out of you. They expect the detailed orientation of the components of your architecture. So if that is not present, then they might not like it, right? So in order to show your expertise with respect to the components and the architecture of Kubernetes, you can go into the details of it and explain it in a much better way. Okay, so how to answer this question in the best possible way is what we are going to discuss it over here. Okay, so let's try to understand how to answer this question. So whenever you run the command kubectl apply, kubectl reads the file and not the cluster. So what it does is it first converts the manifest file, that is the YAML file, into the JSON format. Okay, and once that is done, it then sends the request to the API server, right? It first authenticates via your kubeconfig and then sends the JSON file, which was converted out of the YAML file, to the API server. Okay. Now, once that is being sent, what is API server going to do is it is going to authenticate, authorize, as well as validate. So, authenticate, that who are you, whether you are a cert, token, or a webhook. It is going to authorize whether the role that you are assigned permits you to do the action that you are performing right now. Next thing is about validation. It validates the schema that the manifest holds, right? It compares the manifest file with the desired schema. If it fits into the Kubernetes schema, it then proceeds with a further process. Next thing is about creation of an object inside of the etcd. Now, once all these three gates are being passed, that is authentication, authorization, followed by validation, then the API server writes the object to the etcd, the source of truth, right? So the etcd is the source of truth for our cluster. So that is the first step that API server takes. Now, once the object has been created, the next thing is about notification is being sent to the deployment controller of your controller manager. Okay. Then once it is notified, the controller manager performs reconciliation. That is, it compares the desired state with the actual state. Okay. And once it compares, it finds the actual number of pods that the manifest desires, right? Once it gets the number of pods, it creates a replica set. Okay. Now the replica set is born and it is owned by the deployment. Now the replica set knows how many pods needs to be created. Now the replica set is created, then the replica set controller sees the number of pods and creates 3 pod objects. Once the objects are being created, then the scheduler is continuously watching what is happening, you know. So what it does is it finds that these pods have no specification for the node name. So they have no node name associated with those pods. See, till now we created the pod object, but the actual pods were not created. The pod object was created, but the node was not assigned to it, right? So that is what scheduler detects. Okay. Next, what it does is it scores the nodes based on resource availability, taints, affinity, as well as topology spread. Now, based on that, it is going to decide which is the suitable node for this particular pod. Okay, based on the availability. And once it decides the node, then what happens is it writes a binding or filling the spec.node name back through the API server into etcd. Again, it goes to etcd. So it decides the node. And after deciding the node, it is then going to ask API server to store that node name onto our etcd object again. Now our etcd is also updated now. Now the node gets involved. Now, once there is update in the etcd, node gets involved and the kubelet, which is running on a specific node, watches the pods matching its own node and sees the new assignment. So it detects that. Okay. And once it detects, the kubelet calls container runtime. Okay. Which pulls the image from the registry. Okay, so once the image is being pulled from the registry, the container starts. Okay, so when the container starts, the namespaces, C groups, CNI networking, everything starts. And then the loop closes. The kubelet reports status back as the pod is in the running state, and now the deployment will be showing 3 by 3 ready number of pods. Okay. So all these things are included, that is kubectl, API server, etcd, controller manager, scheduler, kubelet, container runtime, and the container image registry as well. So all these things are included in this process. So you need to mention all of these components and not just few, that is API server, etcd, and scheduler. Only these um, components won't give you the complete answer. So you need to mention everything. I hope this video was helpful to all of you. This was a short one, but wanted to just convey the appropriate way to answer this question in the interviews so that you don't repeat the same mistake which I made, and it is going to help you guys. So thank you so much for watching till here. Have a nice day.